situate it now where it's pointing at you and that people can see you. Yeah. Wait a sec, mate. People, we're just setting up. Now, is that showing you?
It is, yes.
Okay. And your face?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We're here with Chris Adams again with another segment of the Truths and Myths of Homelessness. Oh, that's good, Chris. I've got that here on my iPad as well. Tonight I wanted to, hopefully you can hear Chris better tonight. If you can't, please let us know. Tonight I wanted to, and we can, Chris can move the camera a little closer if you can't hear him as well, but hopefully you can. Tonight, Chris, I want to discuss a subject with you that is quite important for people out in the community, and it's been important to me too with what I do, and that is that you shouldn't enable a homeless person, and by giving them food or by giving them camping equipment or anything to make their life a little easier, that you're enabling them. So how do we convince people that you're not actually enabling people? And it's like people are thinking we need to make it as tough as possible out there for people on the streets so that they don't want to be there because they think it's a choice. So let's make it as hard as we can by not providing them with the comforts of home, because otherwise we're enabling them. And that mentality really grinds my gears.
Well, first of all, good evening to Sonia. Good to be back with anyone who might be watching tonight. Let's start with the question about enabling homelessness. I don't know, again I'm going to be stuck for words to begin with here, but it's to provide people out on the streets with what's required to make their day easier. Now, I've put this to a lot of people in the past when I started another group of my own, as Sonia knows, Streets of Hope, while I was actually still homeless. And I say to people, whether in a group or individually, to go out and to provide to the homeless to make their day better. Sorry, I'm stuck for words here with this one.
So you're not actually enabling people. If you're out in the street and I, for instance, bought out you frozen water, or I gave you some rugs or some pillows or whatever, is that enabling?
Okay, no. Okay, now I've got a pointer with this. It's last summer, as an example, when you were bringing me out cold bottled water. It's about survival. Each and every day is a fight for your own basic survival. Now, I would always buy myself a small bottle of cordial, but that water that you provided me, you would bring along 3 or 4 bottles of frozen water, and I was then able on the hot nights to put my cordial between the frozen bottles and keep my cordial cool. So that helps me to be self-sufficient for myself, to be able to provide that bit for myself with what you also helped with. And so it's not about...
So that's not enabling.
No, it's not.
I'm going to remain homeless because Sonia brings me water.
No.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
If you can help to make someone's day better, to help them, to actually enable them to help themselves, that's what it should really be all about. People who say, make it as tough as possible, you're enabling people by giving them food, or you're giving them money, or you're giving them water, whatever it may be, giving them a sleeping bag. We've discussed this before, the misery of being out on the street. I can only put this in scenarios as to imagine yourself out there on a cold night when it's minus 2 degrees or 2 degrees and you haven't got a sleeping bag, you haven't got a blanket. For somebody to come along and provide that for you to then be able to get a good night's sleep because you're warm, you feel that little bit more secure inside of a sleeping bag. And so you're able to get up the next day and function better as a person and actually go about your day.
But if somebody didn't give you those things, you would freeze. You wouldn't say, "Oh, gee, I'm going home now because I'm choosing to be homeless and it's too rough out here, so I'm going home now."
No one chooses to be homeless. No, that's a myth I think we've tried to dispel, and we should dispel. No one chooses to be homeless. everyone is homeless for their own reasons.
Yes.
They're all different reasons, but no one chooses it. But to have nothing makes each and every day more... I think the wireless network has just cut out. I've got a notification on the screen here. Can you still hear me and see me what's going on there? I've got a notification on the middle of the screen here.
Oh, you're still going?
Okay, we'll keep on going then, but there's a notification on the screen here.
Can you still hear me and see me what's going on there? I've got a notification on the middle of the screen here.
No, it's still going.
Oh, you're still going.
Okay, so we'll just keep on going. Sorry about that, folks. To wake up in the morning and have nothing. This was... I'll set another example here. The weekends. What you do on the weekends by bringing a hot meal to the homeless on a Saturday and Sunday night. If you didn't do that, now people will go to Hutt Street Centre, go to Westcare. Well, let's just make it clear, Westcare and Hutt Street Centre are shut at night time. They shut in the afternoons. So they're not available for a hot meal at night. The Salvation Army only operate once a week. They operate on the Wednesday night. You've got Fred's Van. If you want to go to Fred's Van, you know, there's a lot of violence that goes on there. It's a depressing atmosphere. Again, standing in the cold during winter, when it's, 10 degrees and it's windy and it's grey, you're standing there for an hour in the line when it's cold. So, but they are services. Fred's Van is a service that operates in the city. Now, I know there are other community meals, but they're not nightly. Like the Lutheran Church at Para Hills on a Monday night, the Para Vista one's on a Thursday night. But they're just one-offs during the week. They're not a nightly meal. So you'll have at least 3 or 4 nights of the week when you go without. Now, before you started providing on the weekend nights, there was no meal on a weekend in the Tea Tree Gully area for the homeless at all. On a Saturday and Sunday, you simply went hungry.
That's why I started it, because I saw the gap in
that's right. There was
services.
There was a huge gap there.
Yeah.
Now, I appealed out, as you'll remember, I made an appeal out to the community for a small cup of milk, a year or so ago, or just over a year ago, and the community rallied around me, and what the community done was amazing. At that point in time, when the community showed that they could come together to help the homeless. But it wasn't a continuing thing, that was just a one-off. But what we did see was the Rotary Club who came out and tried to make an attempt at providing a Saturday morning breakfast. Now, what they did was they provided a bag that you could then continue through the day with. And they would include some bottled water, they would include a few snacks, they would, if you needed some clothes or a sleeping bag, they would have that there for you. Now, to wake up on a Saturday or Sunday morning and not have any breakfast and know that you're not going to have lunch or dinner unless you go into town or find an outer suburb somewhere, maybe at Elizabeth, where there is something on, how do I explain the misery that creates within a person?
So you're not enabling people, you're helping them survive.
You're helping them survive on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's each and every day is critical to help a homeless person survive. Now, where was I here with my thoughts on this?
Sorry.
So everybody who's on the street, or 97% of people, I would put it as, because it's roughly probably
that
around there.
So that you put on was really important.
It was very, very important. And since then, since their barbecue was ceased, other venues have popped up, but they're not in Tea Tree Gully, but they're close enough if someone wanted to catch a bus, and they're not in an area where you're going to experience any violence. Like, what is it, the church at Holden Hill on Pittman Road there, the Uniting Church on Pittman Road on a Saturday morning, who do the breakfast now. Now, I was going to say 97% of homeless people do get paid a Centrelink benefit. But, and this is a myth as well, that, you should be able to live off your Centrelink if you get one. Or that, there's been the myth that homeless people can't get Centrelink because they don't have a postal address.
Oh, no, I get that all the time.
And that's it's such a myth, it's not funny.
It's not true, folks.
It's not true. I was homeless since 2009.
Yeah.
And I simply had my registered address as Hutt Street Centre.
Yeah.
And so I would receive my Centrelink as long as you've got a mailing address. You just listed as no fixed address on your Centrelink
Exactly.
card. Now, even with a Centrelink benefit, the costs involved with a Centrelink benefit. Now, there's a lot to consider here, and people, once again, you'll get stick for this. on your payday, I guarantee you are going to see a line of homeless people outside of the cash converters. Because what they've done, they've put their phone in, or whatever possession they've got that they could possibly put on loan to provide some extra money. Now that creates a vicious circle where you go and you get your item back out, and so you're spending money straight out of your paycheck. Now if you're only on JobKeeper, or sorry, JobSeeker it is, so I'm on DSP, if you're on JobSeeker, by the time you pay to get your phone out, usually you'll be getting $50 to $100 for your phone. Some people are getting up to $150 for their phone, and then you're paying nearly $200 back, say whatever it is that you're going to pay back.
Yes, because
that's coming straight out.
Tell people how much interest cash converters charge you for a fortnight or a month.
Are we talking about
so that you can get money to buy food? You have to go into cash converters. You put your phone in, and they give you a loan at what? And you might loan $100, and then they charge you $150 interest
exactly
for
right.
the month
Exactly right.
for that period, so that you're actually got to pay back $250 to get your phone back, and you might have it for a few days, and then all of a sudden you've got to go back and do it again because you need more money.
Exactly right. Because
they're making a fortune off homeless people.
They are
cash converters.
Now,
How
what also happens is, so you've paid that loan back, and so now you're $150 lighter out of your job seeker. And then the first thing that you're going to want to do now, these are all sorts of things that are...
And then when that happens, their phone's in there, they've got no contact with the outside world.
Exactly right.
So they're even further isolated and broke. So it's a vicious cycle, and it happens every payday.
It is. It's a very, very vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Now,
and some people have 3 or 4 phones just to keep them going.
They do, but you'll find that every single phone gets put in, and now they're paying back all the phones.
Exactly, yeah.
But after that, now, a lot of people say, oh, well, this is what I'm about to say next is choice. Most homeless people you see are smokers. Now, by the time you go and pay for smokes, now not everyone has a vehicle to go and find one of the cheap smoke places, those illegal smoke places. Most people will walk straight into a shopping centre and pay for their cigarettes. Yeah. Now, the average person, this is like our discussion on the average person can go and get a carton of beer from the pub, but a homeless person's got no right to have that drink when he's miserable out on the street, and that's numbing his pain. Well, the average smoker has the right to smoke, so, the people don't want to see someone picking up butts off the ground because that looks filthy and dirty to them. So, a homeless person doesn't like to do that, so they'll go and buy their smokes. By the time you have ended one day, I guarantee 90% of your job keeper or job seeker, as it is gone. And I knew this from my own paycheck.
Exactly, and not only cigarettes. I mean, let's face it, there are some meth users out there. So it costs you about $350 a week for meth.
Yeah,
right?
exactly
That's if you're taking meth. And a lot of them cut the crystal up and try and sell it onto somebody else, what they've got left over, to try and survive that way. Now, this is not everyone, this is just a few, but these are the examples of the costs we've got. We've got a little bit of alcohol, we've got a little bit of other recreational drugs, we've got drinks. Every time you want a drink, you can't go to the fridge.
This is what I was going to get into. I don't want to list the illicit substances people use. I would prefer to...
But we want to be honest.
I want to be honest. Yes. But
there are people out there
if you look at cold drinks, now during summer especially, last year during summer, over the summer of December 24, into 2025, I have the plaza across the road. Now I had no way to keep a drink cool in my car or sleeping outside. Because at first, as you know, I was sleeping at the church and then I moved into my car. So I had no way to keep drinks cool. So I'm buying drinks as I need them.
Yeah, and you drink all day in the heat.
That's right, you drink all day. Now, some days I found myself spending $40 or $50 on drinks.
Water, or drinks.
And,
it was iced coffee or something.
Yeah, it was. Now, some people say, well, drink water, it's cheaper. Yeah. Well, we've got taste buds.
Yes.
I don't want to say swear words here, but we haven't got shit buds, we've got taste buds. My language, people, we've got taste buds, not shit buds. And so you'll find yourself in and out of Woolworths all day long buying a drink. And I could spend $40 to $50 a day on drinks very easily. And then you want to buy yourself lunch and dinner. Now, this is also something that your paycheck, even though I understand there's services like Fred's Van every single night, well, I urge the average person to go along to Fred's van every night and eat a sausage in bread that is old bread and a very horrible sausage and a soggy sandwich every night of your life at Fred's van. You know, there is a Chinese meal on the Friday night, or sorry, the Tuesday night. It's Concubine Chinese restaurant. Should keep my hand away from mouth there. You know, and there's Life Church who go there on a Friday night, but the rest of the time it's the Fred's van, the Vinnie's van. But every night there's something at in Gawler Place, down the end of Gawler Place. Now, every homeless person, it doesn't matter what their habits, it doesn't matter what their class is or what type of person they are, is what I'm trying to say here. On their paycheck night, I guarantee they're going to want to have a normal meal and splurge a little bit.
Yes.
You know, they're going to want to feel normal for 5 seconds of their life.
Pension day.
So their pension check is only going to last, or if it's a pension check or job seeker, it's only going to last a matter of days to a week. Then you've got a whole nother week. It's so hard out there to keep a paycheck for 2 weeks.
Rich man, poor man. You're rich the first week and poor
That's
the second.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And so that whole entire second week, you are all of a sudden back in that situation where you have nothing.
Yeah.
And those weekday breakfasts, well, you've got to go into town, Hutt Street Centre or Westcare. You know, and this comes into that situation we've described before of they only open at 7 a.m. Well, what if you wake up at 5 a.m. and, you know, you want a hot coffee or you want some breakfast? And this is why enabling homelessness versus these people who say, oh, you are just enabling it, you know. Sorry, I've discussed this before, how valuable it is to give a little bit of money to that homeless person who wakes up at 5 a.m. and can go and sit in Hungry Jack's or McDonald's or wherever it may be to have a hot coffee and a bit of breakfast on either a hot or cold morning. And it gives them somewhere to exist.
It's just almost a human right, isn't it, to be able to go and have those things like everybody else does. And providing that is not enabling people.
No, it's not.
It's giving, you know, somebody a hot meal and a hot drink. That's
now,
it.
if we want to talk about things like sleeping bags...
You don't enable lifestyles by providing a bit of assistance.
No. What it does, it helps the daily life of a homeless person to help themselves a bit more. To seem a little less bleak, to help themselves and to be able to go out and function a bit better every single day. Now, what that does, it allows you to think more. The psychological effects of being homeless, as we've discussed before, if you cannot even get through a night, if you're sleeping cold in Rundle Mall, say, or whether it be Modbury, Rundle Mall, wherever you're sleeping, if you haven't got a blanket or a sleeping bag and it's cold, you're not going to be able to sleep. You're going to shiver on a bench, and you're going to be awake.
How do you feel when somebody does show that they care and does provide you with something to help your day better? How does it make you feel?
That's...
How much does it mean to you for somebody to show that they care and for somebody to maybe even have come up to you when you were homeless and said, how you going, mate? Shake your hand, sit down and have a chat with you.
It's actually a progression of feelings. You start out feeling like you want to cry.
Yeah.
Because it hits you emotionally. But then after time, you get somebody like you, who, we're talking about Sonia here, everybody. When Sonia continues to come out and help people, you start to see humanity in a different light. You start to, and it's not everybody, because, you know, you see the people who will say the negatives, and you find yourself sitting there going, like, no, I'm sorry, like, this person is amazing. Like what this person does, you are not doing. Nobody else is doing this. But Sonia is. Sonia's getting out and she's doing it. Where everybody else is sitting behind a keyboard, everybody else is judging, everybody else is stereotyping. Sonia is not. Sonia is getting out there and she is helping people to survive. The homeless, she's helping them to go to bed with a full stomach. She's sourcing whatever they might need, whether it be clothing, whether it be a tent, whether it be a sleeping bag. And what that does, it allows that person to go to sleep that night with a full belly, maybe under a bit of cover, being warmer. And you can wake up and function better. You can wake up with a clearer mindset.
I think too, you know, people underestimate the power of what people like myself do, and I'm not the only one that does it in around, but people underestimate the power of that. It only takes sometimes that person to show they care and to be around when you need them, for people to realise that life's not so bleak after all. Maybe I can, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this.
This is exactly what I'm trying to say.
And it gives people hope, I think, and tends to turn them around. I mean, we've been able to house several people that may not have been ready to house before, but with our constant support, they have turned their lives around with that support and say, well, I can do this because somebody shows me I'm worth it.
This is exactly what I'm trying to say here.
It gives dignity to people.
You wake up with a clearer mind and a thought train instead of waking up. If it wasn't for you, I would still be sleeping in Civic Park in the car. Housing SA never would have acted on their own. I would have been left on a waiting list.
Oh, I don't know that that's true.
No, Housing SA wouldn't have. There was, unless Luke had come out from the advertiser on his own back, but he wouldn't have, because that was you who had the contact with Luke as a friend. So that would have never happened. So I would have continued to wake up every morning, and I would have always had the thought to myself, maybe I can go to a caravan park, because at least I had that thought I always had that thought in my mind. At least I had that I could go to a caravan park, but I was always aware that they aren't permanent, that I could only go there for a certain amount of time, and I would be back in the car park again. But when you have somebody who is coming out like that, or people who are helping, you can wake up with a bit clearer mindset to have a train of thought to go, all right, how can I change my life today?
Yeah.
What's the next step I can take?
So it did change you from feeling the depths of hell to, I might have a shot here.
It did. It very, very much did.
Yeah.
As you knew, I said I felt like I was going to die on the street. And once Luke came out, I thought, oh my God, now I've got Sonia and Luke. Now I've got the advertiser who are going to print something. Maybe Housing SA will be backed into a corner here. Maybe they'll be forced to help. And I didn't go, they will be. I thought maybe they will be. And sure enough, Housing SA were forced to act. I was put in the newspaper. My medical condition was put out there. And so they had no choice. And now, through the people that you've housed quite a few people now, and you've given us hope. Not just of maybe we can get off the street, but there's that further hope of maybe I can get my life back together.
You've been in here 6 months now, have you? And I'm still around.
That's right. You are. And I've had the help of a few other people as well.
But it helps having that support of friends and family and
a very much loved one, a partner, yes.
And people still checking in to see if you're okay.
Well, it's actually just you, my lovely partner, Teresa. No one else, as far as I can say.
Yeah.
But it's been enough to give me hope that I can now move forward every single day.
Yeah. You can do it.
And I can do this.
You can do it. You can do it. Yep.
But the more you can give that to every single homeless person, and I try to do that now with other homeless people, but I always did that. This is where this is a weird one to talk about, but clothing. People who give clothing, they tend to give, I don't want to say it, like you can go to Hutt Street Centre and you can actually get some reasonable clothing from Hutt Street Centre. Once a week they put a big clothes rack.
Yeah, they tend to give Grandpa Ted's clothing that's just passed away. We need to clean out his
house.
They
do. But they give a lot of clean clothing and it's reasonable in condition. But if you could provide to a homeless person a way to present themselves a bit better. Now, most people won't understand me saying that, but to have to enter a shopping centre during the day and you're in a pair of tracksuit pants with ripped holes, holes in the knees, you're unshaven, you're dirty, how that can make you feel. Like, get on a bus. I tell anyone, get on a bus at the end of the day, sweaty and dirty after a hard day at work, and see if you get a few looks. You'll get a few because you stink of sweat. Imagine how a homeless person gets looked at. Where if you can maybe provide a homeless person with some good clothes, You know, I'm not talking about some second-hand. This is like those beanies with the little holes. We all appreciate the beanies, but there's a certain level that you can bring a person to by yourself going to that next level. If you can provide someone with, like, it doesn't cost a lot. If you didn't want to give money to a homeless person, and you said, well, I'll give them some food, but not some money, well, I'm sure they'd probably appreciate even more if you went into Kmart and spent yourself $30 or $40 at Kmart. You know, and I know we're living in a cost of living crisis, but people will still go out and give money in the street, so it shows that people are still willing
Clothing
to
though
do
is
it.
really hard because it's not easy to find clothes that fit for other people.
That is one big thing.
I would still think that vouchers would be good so they can go and pick their own clothing out.
It would be, but vouchers can be sold on. That's the problem with vouchers.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter really at the end of the day because if they sell it on, they obviously need it. The money for something.
They do. They want the money for something.
So,
but with clothing, you can look at the sizes it comes in now. It's no longer a size. It's generally small, medium, large, or extra large. And so you can pretty much judge a homeless person by size on what's going to fit them.
And then they might not like what you've given them, you know, because some people wear certain type of jeans. Some people like the non-jeans or, you know, track pants or whatever.
They do.
Yeah. How do you know? Well, I suppose you could ask them. I want to go and buy you some clothes. What would you like? Or do you want to come with me and try some clothes?
Yeah,
on
pick out some clothes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's one good idea.
It is hit and miss when you're buying clothes for other people.
But, you know, then you get something like a razor to provide a homeless person with...
I bought Adam some stuff off Shein. When I was doing my Shein order, I ordered some, because I knew he was a small men's, so I just ordered some stuff for him. I don't know whether he's wearing it or not, but it was funny because I bought him cargo pants with the camouflage material.
Oh, yeah, he quite liked that sort of thing.
And the singlet top to go with it. And I said, I heard you needed some camouflaging because he was living in the bushes.
Yeah, no, that's something Adam actually likes, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I could see what he was wearing.
Yeah, it would suit him well.
A black singlet top, like with a hoodies thing, and I spent about, I don't know, $50 because Shein's so cheap, and it's good, fairly good quality stuff. So I took him down this little package and said, I bought you some clothes. You don't have to wear them. If you don't wear them, stick them in the, you know, op shop. But see how you go. But yeah, it's, again, I'm probably being accused of enabling people, you know, from buying some clothes. But I just don't get that mentality to me. I mean, you know, this kid has been on the streets for 22 years. And he was going to join us to talk with Chris about homelessness because him and Chris probably, you know, the most experienced people in our side of the Adelaide as far as homelessness goes, and he's taken off because after being homeless for 22 years and being close to getting a unit and a life, it's just too much for him to obviously contemplate, and he's just taken off. And you said that that's common with homeless people. Tell me the psychology around that.
First of all, I'd like to welcome another person we have watching who was ex-homeless. I won't name him, but he was previously homeless many, many years ago, and he has joined us in the live stream.
Okay.
So could you just repeat your question there?
Well, about the young lad we were talking about that's been homeless 22 years and now he's taken off at the prospect of getting his life back on track. Can you explain the psychology around how terrifying that must be for a kid that's been on the street since he was 11 years old?
Well, like I said to you before, to be out there, like, this becomes what you know. It becomes who you are, and all of you are. Yeah. And so to have somebody come along and offer you housing, that can be scary, you know. And the first instinct you have is to run, you know, or not to run, which we don't know that he's run, but to leave and head somewhere else, and to no longer answer your phone, to no longer be contactable, and just disappear, you know, and pop up somewhere else.
Does panic set in at the thought of getting a house when you've been on the street that long? It does,
because what you know is the street. That's your normal.
That's your normal environment.
It is,
yes.
And so you want to just continue in your normal environment.
Yes.
You know, you're not having a thought process. Like I've said this before, everybody has to be ready.
Yes.
You know, you can't house a person if they're not ready.
And we don't want to house a person that's not ready. And I want to make that clear. We don't force people into housing. You know, I've offered people housing before and they've said, no, thank you. And I've said, fine. It's there if you ever change your mind, but otherwise I respect your wishes and I'll support you any way that you want me to.
A person has
and
to be...
respect those boundaries. So we don't force people to take housing.
A person has to be mentally ready and they have to be at the end of their story on the street. They have to be at the end of their tether. They have to, like, they're done with it. They're just...
But how did you feel earlier on in the piece? Because you must think to yourself, I really, really want a house, but the thought is just too scary. Initially?
I was never considering it.
You never considered having a house?
Well, I'd had places in the past. They hadn't worked.
Yeah.
And so there's also the prospect of, you know, what you don't have to worry about on the street, the responsibilities you don't have, and you're free. And so that becomes part of that new normal, to be free. And this is a very hard one to sort of describe.
What do you mean free?
If anything happens, you can just get up and go. Like you never, this is that, like the person we're talking about, he's a nomad, he's a wanderer, because as you know, me and him wandered around the country for many years together. And that's that sense of, you become so scared of being normal. It's a foreign feeling. That's the wording I can use here for it. It's a foreign feeling. You don't know it.
So is it when you take off out around the country, is it a sense of adventure to you? Or is it again just survival and wanting to stay out there and be wild, I guess?
It's a mix of both. There's a sense of adventure to it, but you really only realise the adventure later when you realise the adventure you've had.
So what makes you walk around the country as a homeless person?
Are we talking me here, or are we talking Adam, or are we talking others?
You.
Well, for me...
Why didn't you just stay put here? Why did you walk around to Melbourne and Victoria and...
Well, I went from Melbourne to Sydney to Surfers Paradise to you know, Brisbane. I've been in Cairns.
So why did you do that?
Well, I left here simply because I wanted to discover what services were available elsewhere and to see the availability of housing elsewhere. And once I left, I discovered that the services elsewhere, the food availability, the showers, the places to exist during the day was so much greater than Adelaide.
Yeah, Adelaide's very backward in that sense,
it is.
Isn't it?
And the first thing I wanted to do was come back here and try to tell people, you know, like the other homeless. I was like, every homeless person needs to get up and go to Melbourne. Because you go to Melbourne and there's an abundance of everything, you know. I'm sure
Jacinta Allen will love that.
Like there's an abundance of everything.
Yes.
And this is, once again, people say, oh, well, they want to be homeless then. It's like, no, but if it's going to make your existence so much better.
So what sort of services are we talking about they're having to state that they don't have here? Maybe
well,
some of our politicians
if you want to discuss everything over there, I'll go with food services first. Here we have one food van at night, Fred's van, in the city. It goes to one location at 7 p.m. on the weeknights and on the weekend 6 p.m. In Melbourne...
So there's nothing in the suburbs at all?
No, nothing in the suburbs. There, you know, there's the few in the outer suburbs like Elizabeth, and a couple on weeknights, Para Vista, Para Hills, a few around the place. But there's nothing consistent every single night. Whereas in Melbourne, you've got 2 St Vincent de Paul night patrol vans. They go to 9 locations every night. They start off at Boundary Road, North Melbourne. They move on to Fitzroy. They go to the boarding houses on Gertrude Street in Fitzroy. Long story short, they go down to
mobile.
They go down to Flinders Street, and they stop down at Flinders Street Station down near the corner of Spencer Street. They go under the bridges down at the bottom of Spencer Street. They end up at the Victoria Markets. Now they move on. They start out at 6:30 p.m. The last vans go to Queen Victoria Market at 10 p.m. at night. Sometimes they rock up a little bit later, about 10:30. Now,
so is it like a truck or a food van?
No, they're 2 vans. They're two Toyota Hiace vans. One has the coffee. It has the back that opens up, and it has big coffee dispensers, those huge big containers with the little taps on them. and they have hot chocolate, coffee and tea. In the side of the van, they keep blankets and sleeping bags. The other van, in the back of it, it has a series of silver heat containers. And there's 3 containers wide by 4 containers up and down. And they're filled with pies, pasties, hot dogs, wingdings, nuggets, hot chicken and gravy
What's
rolls.
What's a wingding?
Wingding, they're like little chicken wings.
Oh, okay.
Roast beef and gravy rolls, roast pork and gravy rolls, hamburgers, you name it. Now, these are all the products that come off of the food trucks that run around to the businesses during the day. Like I've said to you before, the ones that honk their horns, lift the doors up the girls with the little money belt. They have 70,000 hot items left over each night. Now, Vinnie's also have a base where they cook up hot soups, make up sandwiches, but they also have the other side of the van that has all the packaged sandwiches off of those mobile food trucks that go to the businesses. Now, this is all packaged, in-date, priced food. And you can fill up a bag with them. Now, you can get on a tram if you're going, say, Fitzroy. It's in King William Street near the near the police station on the corner of Brunswick and King William Street. Not King William Street here, King William Street in Victoria. And so you start out there, you can quickly go out, jump on a tram, and you can catch it back down to Flinders Street, and you'll get there before the vans rock up there.
So and this is run by a charity?
This is run by St. Vincent and St. Vinnie's.
Oh.
Okay, so also you have what's called Rosie's vans. Now, they pull up at Flinders Street on the Tuesday and the Thursday night, and they do hot coffee, tea, biscuits, a few bits and pieces. Not as good as the Vinnies, but they're still there, and they pull up with the Vinnies. So now you've got multiple vans. At the Vic Markets, every night at the Vic Markets now, there is something. I've been watching what's going on at the Vic Markets still, and there is something. There's 2 or 3 charities that are gathering together, and they've got trays and trays of hot food every single night, and we're talking proper big cooked meals like teriyaki chicken. We have nothing like any of this
in the city.
You know, if you want to talk about showers, as you know, I've been on a current affair with this at St. Mary's House of Welcome in Fitzroy. Now, you can go to St. Mary's House of Welcome and they have 3 nice clean showers. They provide the towels. They have their washing machines and dryers. You can go to the living room in Hosier Lane Youth Projects. They also have 3 showers. They have 3 washing machines and dryers. You can go to Salvation Army, the 614 Hamadaba on Burt Street. All free services. There are, if you could to count from St. Kilda to Paran to the CBD to Fitzroy, there is 14 different showers within a 10-minute tram ride of each other that you could choose to go to.
And Adelaide's really got no public showers.
Well, you need to go to Hutt Street Centre.
And they close at 1:30.
They close at 1:30 and they're a dirty, dingy shower. But you do also have the Salvation Army showers, which are, you know, as we all know, Modbury's only operating 3 days a week and only till lunchtime. There's Ingle Farm. There is one recently shut at Gawler. I forgot the location of one out at Gawler, but there is another lot of showers out at Gawler. There are showers around the place, but there is not to the extent of somewhere like Melbourne. Now, you can go to Sydney, and once again, same thing in Sydney. They've got the St. Vincent de Paul Night Patrol in Sydney as well, but that's a truck, but the same service. And that pulls up in, what do they call it, the mall, the main, not the mall, not Pitt Street Mall, where the Reserve Bank is. Oh my God, how can I not think of the name?
Melbourne?
No, Sydney.
Oh, Sydney.
What do they call it? It goes all the way up the hill to the top. It's got the Reserve Bank on it. It used to have Channel 7 on it. Oh my goodness.
Doesn't matter, just whatever street.
No, I know off the top of my head. Okay, so in Sydney, anyway, in Sydney, if you go down to Wynyard Station, which is at the bottom of this street, babe, could you just bring my phone, please? I'll look this up quickly. So you got the station. Now the station is an older facility. It's upstairs. You come in at the bottom of what's called the station. That's in a place called Wynyard Place. Down the bottom of. Give me 1 second here. Sorry, folks. Just give me a moment. Glasses.
Can't see without the glasses.
Sorry, folks. Just 1 second.
We're not talking about King's Cross.
No, not King's Cross. Oh my goodness, I can't think. I'm always talking to her about this. Where are we here? There's Elizabeth Street, William Street. What is it called? There's Pitt Street Mall. I'm in the right spots. Bathurst Street, Martin Street, Martin Place. There it is. Sorry, I can't believe I couldn't get it on top of my tongue. So Martin Place, it runs from the top. When you go across the top of Martin Place, if you're at the top and you turn left and you go down across the other side of the road, it's where the Botanical Gardens are. The State Library up a bit further, then Sydney Hospital, and you come back into Martin Place and you head all the way down the hill, and all the way down the hill it crosses over several streets, and at the bottom of the first street, when you come off the top street, when you first come into Martin Place, right at the bottom there's a Reserve Bank on one side. Channel 7 used to be on the other side, but Channel 7 have moved now, and the Vinnie's van pulls up there every single night. And most nights of the week there's also another service. I never knew their name, but there's another service that pulls up with the Vinnie's van or the Vinnie's truck. Then you go all the way down to the bottom and it crosses over what's called Wynyard Place, which is like a bit of a bus interchange, but not like we have here. It's a bit of a circle road where all the buses pull up. And across the other side there's a very, very aged building called the Station. You walk in, bottom floor, it's got washing machines and showers. Some of the worst showers in Australia. It's 10 times worse than Hutt Street Centre. Then upstairs you've got a lunchroom with TV, computers and a little chef area. If you go out to Darlinghurst at Surrey Hills, just past Darlinghurst at the start of Surrey Hills, on a turn off to the right hand side, it goes down the hill, and you've got what's called street level Salvation Army. They also have nice clean showers, they have washing machines, they have a large breakfast room. They charge, or they used to charge 50 cents for a coffee. I've been told that it's gone up to $2 for a coffee now. And
do these states have more men's shelters than we've got here?
Well, there are no men's shelters here.
Well, isn't there a men's shelter here in Adelaide in the CBD?
That's not just for men as such. They do allow women to stay there. They're not. I don't think it's regulated. They're not supposed to let women stay at the Vinnie's men's shelter there in Whitmore Square.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of, yeah.
But you go there on a Saturday morning.
So that's the only one in Adelaide, isn't it?
It is, but you go to, well, there's Catherine House as well, but you go to, which I think they're redeveloping, they're creating a new 56-unit shelter for women. It's going to be a new Catherine House. But if you go to, on a Saturday morning, if you want to use Orange Sky Laundry Van, and you go to the Vinnie's men's shelter, you will see women come out of there. Women are coming out of there with their washing. So they're clearly allowing not just men but also women to stay there. But if you want to talk about shelters in other cities, there's a lot more. You know,
so Adelaide, even though we've got the smaller population, we are very, very much on the back foot. And why is it? Because we've got those same charities here in Adelaide. Why is it that we don't have the same services from those charities here in Adelaide?
Because no one's sourcing it. No one's sourcing it. If you went to Adelaide Mobile Lunch Service and asked them how many items they're disposing of after each shift each day, they're chucking tens of thousands of items in an industrial waste bin that aren't getting bought because they can't sell food the next day that's already been heated up and kept hot all day, and then they'd have to reheat it the next day. They can't reheat food and sell it. So it simply gets disposed of. So what happens then is somebody needs to approach them to collect it. Now, that's been proposed, as I've told you before. Certain charities here in Adelaide have, or one that I was working with, approached them and said, you know, can we collect whatever's not used at the end of the day, what's not sold? And they were happy to donate it. Yet the Adelaide City Council, nothing bad against them, I don't want to sound like I'm bagging Adelaide City Council, but look at what they're doing. They're slowly shutting services out of the city. Unless you're one of the big money mainstream charities like Hutt Street Centre or the Salvation Army or Westcare, they're actively getting rid of, they're ordering services out of the city. They ordered Cosby Care out. They're trying to get rid of the Communist Party. They ordered Bread of Life Ministries out. I've heard of several more. Just in the past 2 weeks, I've actually heard of several more that they're trying to actually get rid of out of the city.
Why do you think they're doing that?
I believe it's the influence that the bigger charities have over the Adelaide City Council and the state government as a whole. Hutt Street Centre has a lot of pull.
They get a lot of funding.
They do, and they have a lot of pull with them. You know, the Salvation Army, well, they're a worldwide organisation. You know, they have a lot of pull as well.
So you're thinking they want the monopoly?
Well, that's what it is. It's a monopoly, and it's a monopoly to keep people. If you could provide a service elsewhere that people didn't need to go to Hutt Street Centre, no one would go to Hutt Street Centre, or there would be a lot less people going to Hutt Street, because the people out there in society think that Hutt Street is a fantastic place for the homeless. They're always suggesting, go to Hutt Street Centre, contact Homeless Connect. They don't know. They're not going to Hutt Street Centre on the daily. I went there every day for so long. And, you know, I was almost stabbed there. I had a knife stuck into my gut there. It didn't quite pierce my stomach, but the guy was thrown outside and had his head pounded on a car by a big security guard named Brendan, who put his head into a car, and we all witnessed it, and I was so thankful for it, you know. And that was after the sexual assault of a young girl in the laundry room. The violence there on the daily basis, the state of the showers. They had to put up a sign. If you go to Hutt Street Centre right now and go into the men's showers, there's signs on the doors that they'll never take down saying, please don't poop in the shower. Because someone was going into each shower and sitting on the floor. You know, you'll go in and there's cans of alcohol on the floor. There's, what do they call them? The needles, like a needle on the floor. The showers aren't cleaned. No one, that's
so
not
there
good.
There is a lot of antisocial behaviour in these places.
There is, and you go in
mainly due to, and I still think this is a cyclic thing, that these antisocial behaviours stem from the lack of mental health support.
It is in a way.
Emergency accommodation.
But we also have, I hate to disrespect South Australia anyway, because this is my home and I love my home.
We're the
but
meth capital of the world.
We
too.
are. It's the class.
There's too many drugs out there.
They're out there, and it's also the class of people here. We have a much rougher class of people. And that's hard for anyone to... No, it is. It would be hard for anybody to understand. If you go to... You know, like, I was going to continue with the service in the state. Like, I'll quickly mention up at Gold Coast, like Blair Athol. It's out at Gold Coast East. It's Gold Coast East Homeless Services. They have both a charity and housing on site for the homeless. I stayed in so much housing in Melbourne and Sydney while I was there. You know, I was put into a boarding house that was pretty rough in Melbourne, across from the exhibition building. But you can get housed over there fairly quickly. I discovered this. South Yarra Housing housed people very, very quickly over there. But the class of people over here, I've been watching a lot of the violence in Melbourne on TV, you know, what's going on at the moment. And most of the violence is actually coming from kids who are coming out of homes who are it's very much gang activity from kids in homes. It's not the homeless. The homeless in Melbourne, just as an example, are very much a different class of homeless. They're so much better taken care of that what it allows is for them to...
Is that still on, Chris?
Are we still on? Yeah, we're still on. We're still on.
We are?
Yes, we are. No, we are still on, apparently. I'm getting the thumbs up from over there that we're still on.
Okay.
So in general, the other states, this goes into that question of enabling homelessness, and it's not enabling; it's helping. For those who would like to label it enabling, it's helping.
Look, one of the reasons I bring this up too is, you know, that when I used to visit the Salvation Army, a certain office, and I recognised the gap in services on the weekend where there was no food. And I said, look, I'm going to start doing this so that people have got food on weekends. I was accused by their head person of, oh, you can't enable them. We supply food for 5 days a week, and sure, they need to look after themselves for 2 days a week. And if you provide them with food, then they're getting food 7 days a week, which is enabling them.
Well,
and you know, I thought to myself, hang on, you're supplying food for 5 days. I'm supplying for 1 or 2, and I'm an enabler.
Well,
so I thought, nah.
if you look at, I could say a lot here.
Yeah, I know.
I could really say a lot.
But it annoyed me because I didn't feel as if I was enabling people. I felt as if I was helping people survive.
That's right. You're helping people survive.
People were going without food weekends.
That's right. Exactly right.
I was getting phone calls and texts from homeless people saying, "I have nothing to eat today. It's a long weekend, and I've still got 2 or 3 days to go, and I've got no food and no money." Now, people were literally ringing me up saying that. So I didn't have anything, so I was going down to the local takeaway shop and I was buying them pizza or whatever and delivering it to wherever they were, and it was costing me a fortune because I'm a pensioner myself.
And look, now you've got people like Pizza Bite who are helping donate.
Well, yeah, but they donate into the city as well.
They do, but Les is good enough. He donates the garlic bread to you that you take out there.
Yeah. All I have to do is ask.
So if all these people are going to say,
I usually buy it because Les does so much for our community.
That's right.
Extra burden on
and they don't want to They don't want to go to the lengths of saying he's enabling.
And this
people.
was beforehand. So well, they do. They accuse it all sorts of stuff. And then I was going to, different takeaway shops to make sure these people had food. And then I thought to myself, I can't continue to afford to do this because takeaway is expensive. And that's when I started doing my home-cooked meals to bring out instead because I just couldn't afford to keep doing that. So I didn't, to be accused of enabling people just because I was providing an essential item that people need to survive, I thought was really, really horrible.
It's been horrible to watch the general attitude of a lot of people who are, I call keyboard warriors in the gully area. And also...
Oh, you're best off just ignoring them.
Of course, but not just them.
It doesn't stop, and
of course it doesn't stop, but it's not
completely.
Just them. I've said in the past, like, the salvos...
They don't matter at the end of the day.
salvos are saying that they provide these meals. And if it wasn't for other people who had begun that...
Well, yeah, I mean, they say, we supply hot meals during the week. That was organised by me through Soul Food Cafe. But I never got credit for that.
I understand you saying that. I understand you saying that.
Credit for that.
But I'm not sure if you're aware that Soul Foods contacted me over a year ago, and that was when I put that call out for milk. And they said that they wanted to start donating meals, and they wanted to bring 20 meals to Civic Park. And I suggested...
They're a lovely organisation.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
But then what the Salvation Army do, when I suggested they take them across there, and then they went through you as well, that the Salvation Army then put them in the fridge out the back, in the kitchen, and they start telling you, oh, well, we've only got this one here, or we've only got that one there, or
they
we've
were
only got
cooking
this
for
many
another
left.
organisation. They were cooking for another organisation, and I contacted them and I said, look, would you mind redistributing and to meals to homeless people? And they said, yeah, of course. And I said, well, can you contact this person? And, we can do it through there, which was good.
But the Salvation Army have been holding those meals back from the homeless. They don't supply all the time to the homeless.
Well,
they have been picking and choosing who they give what to.
Yeah, well, they've always done that, let's face it.
That's what they always have.
They do. They've got their favourites. They pick and choose who they want to have a shower, who they'll give food to, who they'll help, who they give this and that to. And that's why I actually fell out with that organisation. Because they had a big row over their judgmentalism and everything else. But that's... I don't want to go into that today,
even then, though...
A lot of people in charities... Sorry, Chris, for interrupting you, but a lot of people that work for charities, in big charities, are not nice people.
No, not at all. I'll agree on that. Not at all.
And the judgments and the things that go on, a lot of people, homeless people are a commodity to these big charities. And what I have seen in the short time, that I've been, dealing with some of these charities, has been disturbing. And that's why I won't work with them.
Well, we've discussed with that before with Hutt Street Centre's...
forms.
With not just that, with what I say about how it's not in their interest to get people housed long term and to keep them on a carousel because we're all worth $1 to them as far as statistics go.
Well, if you get rid of all, the government gets rid of all the homeless
They'll-
people on the street,
the
all
charities
these
will be out of
charities
business.
will
That's
fold.
right.
They'll all go out of business. All
But-
of the people that are earning wages in the housing and everything else will go out of business.
But talking about what could be done about hot meals on the weekends here, if you look at, there are other organisations in the Gully area. I hate to say this, but, okay, situation here. I approached them last year and they refused to let me use their microwave to cook myself a hot meal that I had bought at Tea Tree Plaza, with the statement that, sorry, that room is only for community groups who hire out our room there. Now, this was Tea Tree Gully Library. I went into the library building, and as you enter from Civic Park, you walk into the foyer, and
Yes.
directly ahead of you is the cafe.
Yes.
Off to the right is the library. If you look to the left, there's the staircase, and then there's a little door. It's a kitchen.
Oh, really?
And it has plates, mugs, knives, forks,
Yeah.
a microwave, a sink.
Okay.
Now, I said to them, look, can I just use the microwave? I only need 2 minutes. No, sorry, that's only for paying groups. I said to them, what do you mean paying groups? They said, oh, that room there, we have community groups in at night sometimes.
Yeah.
And now I've seen that. When I used to park outside the library at night,
Yeah.
I used to see the room, there's a glass windowed room right next to the entrance, and there's community groups that go in there and they do lectures and studies, and so that kitchen is for them to use. But the kitchen door is open all the time.
Yeah.
But a homeless person can't go in
Where is the
and
compassion?
use it.
This is what I mean. It's
And
just not
so,
common sense,
so I
isn't
thought
it?
to myself, imagine if a homeless person could get themselves a meal, and the library shuts most nights by 4 or 5 p.m. So if you could get in by that time and cook your hot meal, at least you'd have a full belly for the night still. You know, on, I think it's, what is it, the Tuesday or the Wednesday night where it shuts at 8? I think it's the Wednesday night. It shuts at 8 p.m. on the Wednesday night. That would be even better if you could get in there at 7:30, use a microwave for 2 minutes,
Hey,
and
look,
even if it was something...
I'm desperately trying to get the toilets to open at Civic Park until midnight, just through the summer months, while there's daylight saving and families are out enjoying Civic Park. I'm going to continue with that. Unfortunately, we've got elected members of council that aren't particularly fond of homeless people and aren't that compassionate. But we do have some really good staff, but the staff can't do anything because they need the support of the elected members. So we're plugging away because it doesn't make sense to have families out till midnight enjoying the beautiful city centre.
I've said this before. I've said this before.
Close the toilets at 9 o'clock so no one's got
And just so everybody
facilities.
knows, I can say this live here on the live stream, that yes, I was the one who witnessed. I was sitting in Civic Park every single night. Now, that myth that homeless people were destroying the toilets, no, they weren't. We all know where each other slept. There was no one else sleeping within cooey of Civic Park except me. At different stages, a few people came and went sleeping close by, but I was sleeping across from the toilets, and I saw who went in and out of those toilets. And all the damage that gets done, any graffiti, the items that get left in there, it's generally by teenagers who go in 4 o'clock in the afternoon after their school hours or during school hours, and they destroy the toilets. Yet I sit there at night and I watch parents with children who desperately need a toilet. Now, a child is not going to let you know. They're going to let you know right at the last minute. Need to go to the toilet. To be so heartbroken to watch a parent take their child screaming behind a car, to have to pee behind a car, and then people say, oh, we'll take them to McDonald's. So you wouldn't go in there yourself most of the time to the McDonald's toilets. It's that filthy. Mowbray Hotel... the Cinema Plaza toilets, they're simply too far away when you've got to start crossing main roads.
Yeah.
The service station toilet that shuts at 9 o'clock each night and the night window opens so you can't go there. When you
desperately need
we
toilets
do,
open,
we do.
at least till midnight, you know, so that families can enjoy it. It doesn't make any sense.
You know, you had a security guard coming along at 11 o'clock at night and doing a check of the toilets. Well, if he's coming along at 11 o'clock at the night, there's no reason why it can't be left open till 11 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
You know, and
I'm going to keep working on it.
So you know, and I'm going in there removing graffiti. So I was seeing what was happening firsthand because I was going in there and cleaning the graffiti off with wipes. You know.
So, Chris, to finish off, because we've been going for an hour, this particular session, what do you suggest to anyone that might be listening that might have a few million spare or...
look, you don't want to go there because...
what services could we be providing here that would make life a little easier for homeless people?
it's not what services we could be providing, it's what an individual by themselves or people together in groups can do to improve the daily lives of somebody who is homeless. And that is by going out and giving food, making sure they have blankets or a sleeping bag, asking if there's anything else that they need that would get them through the day a bit better. And even, yes, giving them a bit of money to get them a hot coffee the next morning.
Because of the stigma associated with homelessness, I think people are frightened to approach people.
People create that stigma. It's a society that creates that stigma.
I know, but you know, it's in us. I mean, I've, you know, as you'd say, you know, I've worked with disadvantaged people for an awfully long time and in lots of different fields. And sometimes I'm a bit iffy when I look at somebody that I can tell just by looking at them that they have extreme problems and issues.
Well, that's a matter of judging on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly,
or as my mother taught me.
And I think, oh, should I approach them or not? You sometimes don't know because, and it's usually the person that hasn't showered for 3 or 4 years. They stick to this, they don't come in the city centre at all. And the reason they stay out in the suburbs and away where no one is because they don't want to interact with people.
No, but that's sort of... My mother always taught me it costs nothing to be polite. Now, even if you get yelled at by one person who's on the side of the road and they have some issues, if you pass them by and just go, good morning, give them a nice smile, that alone can make them feel better for their day.
Yeah.
That can change their attitude for the day. But what you just said is usually those who don't shower for 3 or 4 days. Well, unfortunately, that's not...
Not years. I mean, you can get parents out there that don't shower at all.
I've introduced my partner here to a guy that we call Robert Harper in the city. He's a well-known homeless gent, been homeless for 35 years and hasn't showered in 30. Seriously, he has not showered in 30. She can back me up right now as to the smell. You can actually smell him from a good 20 feet away.
Yeah.
But what happens is the more you hang around him, the more desensitized you become to the smell. And sooner or later the smell goes away. You know, and he's in the city library every day and they've learned that they just deal with it. And he is the nicest guy in the world, yet he is got the biggest, longest beard, the most scraggly, dirty hair, the worst torn clothes. He doesn't interact with the services, with the government in any way, doesn't get Centrelink, doesn't eat at the food services.
So the key is not to judge a book by its cover.
Go up
and introduce yourself.
That's right. To not tar everybody with the same brush. Yeah. That's not cool. You know?
Well, I was going to the village the other day. This is a bit of a story. I was in the village the other day and there was a guy sitting on the ground playing what looked like a banjo. But it was actually one of those guitars with the metal fronts on them. And this guy was like covered in tattoos and he was the coolest looking dude. And he was sitting on the ground on one of those little medium strips playing this instrument. And I was over at Audi and I could hear and I thought, gee, that guy's talented. And I'd had reports that there was a homeless guy up at the village hanging around. And I'd been up there a few times to check and I couldn't see anyone. And I thought, I wonder if this is the guy, because he's sitting on the ground, right? He didn't look homeless, but he was acting homeless. So he was sitting on the ground, he was playing his musical instrument, and he had a couple of takeaway food containers next to him. So, you know, I sort of thought, oh, I wonder if that's him. And I went over and introduced myself to him and I said, oh, you're not homeless, are you? And he said, no, I'm not. And he said, I have been in the past. And I said, well, you don't look homeless, but you're acting homeless. Because I said, you've got your food containers and you're sitting on the ground instead of in your car and all this sort of stuff. And he laughed and he said, oh, no worries. You know, he said, no, I'm not. But he was the coolest dude. And I said, oh, well, thanks very much for being, you know, so nice. He was really lovely. And he ended up having a TikTok page. So I started following him on TikTok.
Okay.
But talent, he played me a couple of songs on this guitar, blues songs, and I thought, oh my goodness, this guy's got talent oozing out of him. He's just extraordinary. But I met somebody new when I was in my pursuit looking for homeless people, new homeless people to feed. But you meet some real characters out there on the street. But, you know, he's the type of guy where most people would look at and say, oh, maybe he's homeless, you know. But as I said, because he was acting homeless, he was sitting on the ground, he was playing a musical instrument like a busker would, you know, and he had the takeaway food containers. So I thought, I'll just ask. Wasn't sure, but I thought I'll just ask. And it wasn't him. But a lot of people must have thought he was homeless, though. You know, had he been sitting in his car, because he had this great big huge car.
Yeah, yep.
which was parked nearby, then I wouldn't have thought that. But we're sitting in the ground, and he put on his TikTok thing afterwards about this lady that thought he was homeless. And I felt like writing on there, well, it wasn't that you looked homeless, it was that you acted homeless. And he said, well, I've been homeless before. So those habits have stayed with him. Do you know what I mean? Sitting on the ground, playing his musical instrument, which he obviously did when he was homeless before. And those behaviours have stayed with him now. So it was easy for me to assume that he might have been the guy that I was looking for. Just a funny little story that happened to me this week. But, gee, the guy was extremely talented. So anything to finish off, Chris, about what we've discussed tonight? Obviously, Adelaide's way behind everybody else in the homelessness. Is there anything the government should be doing that they're not doing now? I mean, it seems to be all the charities are doing all this work. Is there anything the government should be doing?
The government will never do anything for the homeless industry because it's not votes. There's no votes in it for them. There isn't votes.
Yeah. It's not sexy, is it? It's no bling associated to humanity.
No, and you start looking at the amount of money that the government spends, our state government each year spends on sporting venues, or what we need, the hospitals, the essential infrastructure that this state needs, and you go, well, that's where the votes are, and that's where the interests are, but they don't realise that people don't want to see the homeless. And you understand that by the amount of negativity getting online about the homeless, that people would prefer to walk through the city, push them under the carpet. What's the word? Out of sight, out of mind.
Well, this is it, yeah.
And so
a lot of people think that with homeless people, if we ignore them, the situation's not there.
That's right. So the state government could be doing something. We've talked about this before. The amount of empty buildings around the city, that they could simply compulsorily acquire a building.
Yeah.
They compulsorily acquired how many hundreds of homes for the new Darlington Tunnel on South Road there. It's from the Torrens to Torrens Tunnel, I think they call it. Well, the government can compulsorily acquire buildings, and yet we have dozens of city buildings sitting around vacant. And then there's, of course, the understanding that, there would be money spent to have these buildings renovated and fitted out, and what sort of presence would be needed for nurses or doctors or security or all this sort of thing. It would all be too hard.
Yeah.
But if you looked at the end result of what could be the potential to be one of the first cities to effectively eliminate a whole generation of homelessness. And then for every new homeless person that came out, they could be concentrated on.
I think it's time we looked at other countries too. I mean, there was one country, I don't know whether it was Singapore or Japan. I've got a feeling it might be Singapore. They don't have any homeless people, because what they do is they use government money to buy each person a house. Now, and the person pays it back or something.
This is a bit of wishful thinking. This is this is like a bank.
They invest in houses.
Yeah. This would be like a bank scheme though, where they own a portion of your house until you pay it off. Because there's bank schemes like that where you put so much money down for a deposit. I know it's one of the banks that will do that, and you put so much down as your deposit, and they have a vested interest in that property until the day you pay it off and it's yours. But then look at the United States. Although the homeless crisis there has gotten really, really bad, it's all over the world now. It's getting bad. They have still come up with I think it's Elon Musk. I saw a video last week. Elon Musk with his tiny homes. What do they call them? They're the
Well, apparently that's false.
What are they called? No, I saw.
Like a capsule. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like an IKEA home, like a flat pack home. They call them. I saw them. There's a video of them going up on a block of land.
Yeah, I know, but apparently it's false.
I have only just seen it. I would like to know.
Put it on there and they said it
but
was
there was an idea considered in Victoria of the same type of model.
I like the Volperta capsule homes. Have you seen those?
I haven't heard of that.
They are brilliant. They are made of a substance where it's got like solar for power and all that sort of stuff. So
I've heard of similar ideas like that.
And then it's got air conditioning and everything. It's all run by solar. And it's like insulated, sort of like a house. If you look up Volperta housing, you can buy them for $30,000 or $40,000 each and get them delivered and plop in your yard.
Well, you can also look up things like in Victoria, if you simply Google the right words, they were going to put prefabricated small box homes on the Maribyrnong, I think that's how it's pronounced, on the river. And they were going to have a patch of land where they put 30 little homes for the homeless. And it's an idea that never sort of came to fruition. But this idea has been proposed in many different states, in many different countries all over the world. But you look at Japan. Japan's another one. Japan's a great example of what can be done. Capsule hotels. Have you seen these?
No.
Oh, we watch them quite a bit, don't we?
Capsule hotels?
Yeah. Let me just quickly show you here. Hopefully this will work. Sorry, bear with me here. Capsule hotels, Japan.
Japan's a lot more advanced than us in many ways.
Here we are, capsule hotels. Okay, there it is there. Capsule hotel. Guide to capsule hotels in Japan. Okay, so Japan doesn't have any homeless people because it's seen as dishonourable in Japan to be homeless.
Yes.
So they created capsule hotels.
Right.
Now there are a few different types. Some of them, and you can have them for as low as, I think it's like $10 Australian a night. That's how low they're priced. And you go in and it's a little room, and you get a little...
you're not talking about those little things that Spanian went to.
They have a little desk with a little fan and a little computer with USB ports.
That's it. And it's like a little box.
No, the ones in Japan, there's different types. There's ones that are truly capsules. They're like a little round coffin thing, and you can just slide into with a bed, right? I think they're about $5 Australian a night. But the box ones, you walk in and it's got a little bar fridge. You got like a table and chairs where you can put your laptop, USB ports,
so it's different from
little bar fridge, a little fan, a bed behind you, and you can go in and stay there the whole night and sleep, stay awake, whatever you want to do. It's secure and it locks. And so it hides anyone who becomes in a situation where they're homeless. It hides them away from the public eye so they don't feel dishonourable in the eyes of their elders.
Yeah, and they can get a decent night's sleep, go to their job the next day.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And
cheap accommodation.
So effectively, Japan doesn't have any homeless people.
Yes.
Because they're all actually living off the street. No one's sleeping out.
Oh gosh, I would love our government to be forward thinking, and I think we should go back to those prefab kit homes too.
Well, there was one way here that you could sort of stay off the streets for the night, but nobody could go to sleep. You could go to an internet cafe. Now there was originally one in Chinatown. Not sure if it's still there, but it was a 24-hour internet cafe where you can pay nightly or a membership fee for the year.
Can you sleep?
You can technically fall asleep at the computer desk.
Yeah, well that's not bed though, is it?
But that was like when I first went to Melbourne. Before when I first went to Melbourne, I'd only actually just hit the streets. I was only in Adelaide after my father died briefly. When I went and slept in Rundle Mall, and I went to Hutt Street Centre for the first time, and Hutt Street Centre seemed so dismal and such a bad atmosphere that it got me so down, and all I wanted to do was get away. And so I went to Melbourne. And
they do talking of the Hutt Street Centre though, they do a lot of good work. You know, I mean, it's not all bad news. They do a lot of good work, and imagine what the city would be without them altogether. Do you know what I mean? It would be a lot worse.
I believe there would be other services. There would be other people in place of them. Other services like, look at the Pilgrim Church. It might have been them that stepped up. The Pilgrim Church still do a meal every Sunday night. And they do a fantastic meal. But it might have been other services, you know. But Hutt Street Centre, well, what good do they do besides, you know, give you a place to sit around all day? You sit there till 1:30 and you sit at a table and stare around at the atmosphere. And yeah, you
don't
can...
Don't they have any like community games rooms or something like that?
No.
Play some table tennis.
No, there's a TV. No, there's just a TV on the wall.
They don't have community
and so everyone sits there like this and stares at the TV. You can put your phone in a little charging locker. There's one of those charging lockers for phones. There's lockers for your belongings. There's a locker about this big, you know, this big, and it goes so deep. And you can get a locker for 3 to 6 months. And you can put your gear in there. You can have a shower. You stick around till lunchtime, but you're sitting there, twiddling your thumbs, looking at the TV.
I don't understand.
Trying to avoid making eye contact with anybody else.
Yes. But could you imagine, though, how much better it would be if they had, you know, the dartboards, the table tennis, the 8-ball tables.
Well, this is what I'm talking
where
about.
you could go and have a community feel and interact and actually engage with other people.
This is what I'm talking about with St Mary's House of Welcome in Victoria. For anyone who
Yeah.
doesn't know, have a look up St Mary's House of Welcome in Victoria.
Yes.
A video called Second Bite, A Current Affair. Look that video up.
Yeah.
I'm featured at the end of that video while I was in Melbourne. Now, so I can testify as to what these services are actually like. I was the Living Room's first client in Melbourne. They're the youth projects in Hosier Lane. But they have, in St Mary's House of Welcome, they have a pool table and a dartboard. They have puzzles, they have magazines, they have a garden area where you can go and do a bit of gardening. Now, to Hutt Street Centre's credit here, they do have a program once a week where a team goes out down to Hutt Street and does a bit of gardening in the garden beds on the side. They're like a wheelie box type thing. And you can go out and do a bit of gardening.
Oh,
You know,
okay. Yeah, they did mention they had a community
you
garden
can,
sort of thing,
that's right, and you
yeah.
can paint if you want. There is
Yes,
a bit of
yeah,
art to be done at Hutt Street Centre.
yeah,
But they don't, you'll see one, maybe two people painting. That's it, in a little room, they're just painting. You won't see...
Yeah, well, it's still isolating, isn't it?
It's
And
very, those
therapeutic,
people are...
and you need to be engaged with other people.
Exactly right.
You know, even if they put a couple of pinball machines in or something, so people can
Everyone,
have some
if
fun.
you talk to any Hutt Street Centre client, they will say it's more like a government-funded mental health care centre than it is a true drop-in centre. It's not therapeutic.
No.
The Living Room in Melbourne, youth projects at least you can go into, they give
Well,
you
it's the same
your
as
own...
it's the same as their mentality, their kitchen staff. They say, we're here to feed them, not fatten them.
That's right, but you go to youth projects in Melbourne, I hate to mention Victoria all the time, but you go there and you walk in and they give you fridges. There's two big fridges, right? When they renovated the place, it was all provided brand new. Double door fridges that you can actually walk up to yourself, grab the milk out of, because Coles drop off 40 litres of milk every morning in big crates, 2-litre milks. You go up there and there's a big breakfast bar and you make your own breakfast. There's an oven where you can cook your own food and there'll be donated meals like lasagna in the fridge. You know,
so that's actually enabling you to be independent.
It is, and it's also
and do those things for yourself.
That's right, and it's therapeutic.
Yes,
and then you sit down with your breakfast. They ask you,
Yes.
would you like to put a DVD on? And you choose from movies.
And I guess
you
you
put a
will
movie
feel
on.
a sense of pride that you've actually prepared your own breakfast rather than somebody prepare it for you.
Exactly right. And they have upstairs there. They have cooking classes where you can actually learn to cook.
So if we're talking about enabling people, we're talking about, you know, to prevent that sort of mentality, maybe we should be providing areas where people can go and take their groceries and actually cook them or heat them up.
Exactly right. This was my point about the library.
Keeps that sort of autonomy and that independence. Because the reason we have to do it this way is because there is no facilities for you.
This was my point about the library, and we don't need the library set up. We need a facility where people can go and do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and cook.
Yes.
Clean their own clothes. Like do your own load of washing.
There is the free barbecues,
You know?
which help. You know, the free barbecues do their job as far as that goes as well. But the microwaves.
Imagine having to use a free barbecue in a park. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? Okay, to do that, you need to go and buy alfoil, and you need cooking oil. You need something to put your food on. You know how many people I've seen, homeless people, actually using those barbecues, and they're simply like eating off the hot plate. Because they can't, it's not like they're going to haul bags full of gear there. We can't carry it around, paper plates and knives and forks and cups and alfoil and oil and salt and pepper and butter and everything else. We can't carry it all. Like, you know?
Yeah,
so you
that's a good point.
You go in and you get some cold meat, like some cold steaks or some chops or whatever you get out of the butcher's, or out of Woolworths or Coles, and you walk across to the park and you cook it on the barbie and you start cutting it up as it's cooking on the barbie and eating it as it's cooking.
Yes,
like,
yes.
I've done it, I know.
Yes,
I've been at others do it.
Yes.
So,
I suppose people don't think of things like that, do they?
No, not at all.
How hard it is just to cook yourself some lunch on a public barbecue.
That's right, and so you're never getting a truly home-cooked meal, like what the meals you provided, they're a home-cooked meal. We're never getting that as a homeless person. You're never getting that. You're going in and buying whatever you can get to eat then and there, like ready-made food in Woolworths, like that you can, and I know that many people. Look at Trevor as an example. He was doing the same thing as me. We were going and buying pasta salad. Yeah. Pasta salad is a meal that can fill you up. For $7, you buy the big pasta salad, and you've got to eat it while it's cold. You know, you've got no way to cook. But then people go, oh, well, you get yourself a little camp stove. Well, unless you've got a car, you're not carrying a camp stove around with you. It's like, you know, It's
some
like,
get those little tiny ones with the butane
yeah,
gas.
yeah, but
things.
it's like,
But then they ran out of butane gas. It's like, where do we get butane
that's exactly
gas from?
right. And I understand the sort of people who came along to Civic Park for me, but then they end up giving you a swag that's this big, and you're like, oh, now I've got to lug around. Oh my God, my back's back. I've got a bad back already.
Yeah.
Now I've got to carry camp stoves, swags,
So
knives, forks,
everything you
pots.
do is
like,
hard.
everything.
Easy. Everything is hard.
And then they say, get a trolley. Oh, so now I just want to appear so obviously homeless to everyone. Now you're going to stigmatise me even more because I've got a trolley full of gear and everyone's going, spot the homeless person.
Because you're not actually, doing your best to fit in, are you? And be like everybody else.
No, that's why when I walk through the plaza and people would look at me.
But you've got to have somewhere when you don't have a car. You've got to have something to carry
exactly
stuff
right.
around in.
You know, and people
so
would
the shopping
say,
trolley's it.
that's right. Or you find a good place to hide it. Now, I used to hide my gear at the back most, but I shouldn't mention this.
Don't have to mention where.
No, if anyone from the council is listening, I'm not doing it anymore. So too bad, how sad. But where the library is, library there, and then you've got the council chambers on the other side, the car park. Do you know where they park all their buses at night?
No.
Okay, at the back of the Tea Tree Glade Council car park, they park all their buses against the fence on the service station side, where the service station is across from Tea Tree Plus.
Oh, yes.
Okay, over the fence there is where they park all their buses.
Oh.
Now, right up in the corner behind the buses, there's a bench seat with a big tree and a whole lot of bushes.
Yeah.
You can jam all your gear under the bush, and that's where I was jamming it.
Right.
I used to try to leave it at the Uniting Church until they sent me a nice little note saying, move your gear along, mate, don't leave it here.
Yes.
And so I would leave my gear there, and then I would get nicely dressed, clean my hands, clean myself up, have a shave, and I'd walk through the plaza with pride. And no one would know any better. And so I felt better about myself.
Is it important for you to fit in?
It is, because you feel better about yourself if people think that you're a normal, everyday, working class person.
You don't want to appear to be homeless.
No, you don't. And that's why with other homeless people who don't seem to have that pride within themselves, and it's not that they've given up, they simply don't care. They've got no pride. It's like I'd always encourage them, like, have a shave, get rid of it. Like, you know, you appear better. Walk like this instead of like this. You know, clean clothes, and then that will make them. I try to make them aware that I'm not trying to judge them.
Yeah, you're
I'm trying to make them
look less obvious and fit in a bit more.
It'll make them feel better about themselves.
But they may not be capable of wanting to do that.
They're not most of the time, but it can lead. What it leads to is more positive thoughts within your own mind.
Some people are, well, as I said, we're dealing sometimes with some quite extreme psychotic illnesses out there, and you know, and also intellectual disabilities and stuff like that, where some people just aren't capable of looking after their personal hygiene the way that other people are. And they're the ones that you can easily pick more easily.
Yeah, but I find that's where all that needs is somebody alongside them. Like you, this is a weird, strange one.
But it's got to be done all the time. I mean, look at, we had a young lad, I won't mention any names, we had a young lad that had paranoid schizophrenia. And he was a gorgeous looking young lad and a sweet, kind-hearted young lad. And he found it difficult to look after himself because he didn't have that, that brain capacity to understand this is what he had to do each day.
So that's what they need, is somebody alongside them, like a good friend.
Exactly.
I can give the example here of someone that we've been talking about, a certain young lad that we both love.
Yeah.
Adorable as hell.
Yeah.
But when I went around the country with him, if I didn't push him to, he wouldn't shower. Yeah. So I had to do it every day with him. And we would go into a bathroom and I'd be like, go into the cubicle next door, shower. Yeah. And I would make it clear, like, shower. And then he would come out and I would be shaving. I'd be like, here, razor, shave. And
so it became a parent-child relationship.
It very much did. And
you
so
were telling him how to look after himself. But I mean, the fact is, he's been on the street since he's 11. He didn't have a parent to teach him those things that you did.
No, but I met him when he was 13. Yeah. And I was the first one. Like the first day I came across him, I caught him. He had just stolen off of another homeless kid. He'd stolen his shoes. And I walked up to him, and I didn't even know him yet. And I walked up to him, and I was like, "Oi!" I said, "You take those shoes off, and you give them back, or I'll put you against the wall." And he looked at me and went, "Oh, okay." Yeah. And from that day, I took him under my wing, and I was like, this is not going to happen.
And you were probably the father we never had.
You know, like,
yeah.
It was more than that. It was father, brother, mate, everything.
Brother, yeah.
You know, and you develop a bond with that person, and that's why I care about him so much to this day. You know,
he's an easy kid to love.
He is, but you know, like I said, he gets himself into trouble, and I find myself constantly rescuing him.
Well, this is it. You've got to detach yourself. I mean, you know, I care about all of these people very much, but I have to detach myself.
I've
learned to do that over the years. I've learned to do that over the years. So I don't get hurt.
For me, I've sort of gone beyond that, and if he rang me right now, he knows I would jump in the car and go straight to him. It would be there isn't a second thought, no hesitation. If he's in trouble, I'll go get him. You know.
Well, if he was in trouble, we'd all try and help. But you know.
I go a bit further. Like I'd be like, all right, we're going to Melbourne now.
But you and I though understand that the way that things are on the streets, and you know, I mean, you've been there, but for me, looking from the outside, I try not to get involved in the things you would get involved in, because I'm there just to do a specific area of service.
I understand that.
So I don't get involved to the extent that you would, and I would detach myself and say, this is life on the streets. I need to accept the fact that this is the way this lad is. Yes, I care about this lad, and I hope he comes back to see us one day. And I am finding myself getting a little bit emotional. But I try and block it out and say, no, I need to be there for the other 10 homeless people I need to feed Saturday night. So I need to keep going one foot in front of the other, and not let these things get to me, because this is the industry. This is what...
And it breaks so many workers who come into the industry thinking that they want to help make a difference, and then it breaks them very, very quickly, and they're gone.
It is emotionally taxing. It's an emotional roller coaster.
It is, but you try living it. You know, even though I'm housed now, they're still my community. They're still the people that they're my people. I care about them. They're the people that I love. Yeah. And there's so many of them. And you know, my partner now has met them, and she knows that I would go and rescue them in a heartbeat. You know, I would always stand by them. We go into town now, and we can't shake. The word is we can't shake them. We see one person, this Robert Harper that I told you about, and if we leave, he literally gets up, and he just walks through town with us until we leave on the bus. You know. It's like that guy I told you about, that he was like, hey, how are you, Trav? How they just, to them, I'm just still, as far as they're aware, I'm still...
Well, you'll always be that person.
That's right. And so, to me, they're those same people as well. And so...
There's a lot of camaraderie on the streets, and this is what people don't realise. It's a network, it's a community. It's another community, and there's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of mateship, a lot of support, a lot of politics, and just like any other community.
Exactly right, and that's where this is where the guilt factor comes in when you leave them and you get a house, and that's another scary thing about getting a house. Leaving all that behind. And not being there for the people.
I'm leaving them behind.
Exactly right.
Anymore.
Exactly right. I used to watch everybody else go home. Now I'm going home. You know, and they're not.
So the guilt is a big factor.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, and you want to bring them all home with you, but you know, if you bring them all home with you, that none of you would feel right here together.
Well, it's not possible either. I mean, people, you know, some of the haters and trolls say, oh, you know, Sonia should take him home and put him in her backyard. But because it's ignorant, stupid ignorant comments like that, because they don't understand how complex the homeless community is.
Exactly
and they
right.
wouldn't want to come and stay in my backyard.
You would find that they would be gone the next day. You would wake up and they would be gone, and they've probably taken half your possessions with them as well.
You know, every bit of land that you guys, you know, that homeless people live on is their yard, it's their house, it's their little patch of grass, and this becomes a territory to them, and you know, just like somebody's yard.
That goes into the saying that, like this is my city or this is our city.
Yeah.
Homeless people
This
were...
is my patch of grass.
Like, we refer to the city
Yeah.
as, like you're just a tourist in my city. Like,
yeah, I know.
you know, people come into the city to work and they think, like, this is their city.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, this is my city.
Exactly.
We're here
stuff.
24/7 on the ground in this city. We never leave. When you're gone home at 3 in the morning in the suburbs, we're walking up and down this strip. We own this strip. This is ours.
Look, I know.
So it becomes about that bit of attitude as well.
Yeah, exactly. I know of a guy that went down to Port Adelaide and pitched a tent between a couple of buildings, and within 15 minutes there was teenage thugs surrounding him, saying, "You've got 2 seconds to pack your gear and get out."
Yeah, yeah.
This is our patch.
This is our patch, yeah.
And if you don't get out, we're going to beat the living shit out of you.
Yep.
So he grabbed his stuff and fled. So it is a community out there, and it's hard to explain, but I feel part of that community, you know, but in a different way. And the other thing people have a go at me for, because I say my homeless crew, you know, because I feel like they're my kids, really. It's sort of like extended family, and you're my foster kids. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it becomes like for anyone who's out there working on the street.
Exactly. You actually begin to care about these people, and you feel responsible in a way for them. You know what I mean? And people don't understand. When I say, oh, my cohort or whatever, I'm not saying that I own these people, but you feel fondly towards these people. They become friends. They become mates, even though there's always that boundary of, you know, professionalism that's got to be there. You actually care about these people, and you see them every week of their life, and they tell you their life stories. They tell you what they're thinking, what they're feeling. They tell you who's
and I can tell you, if you decided to up and leave, what would happen is you would get people out there, like homeless people out there, apart from your homeless crew, who'll be like, "What, you think you can just get up and leave, do you? But you think that's how it is?" And then you'd leave and you come back a year later and they'll be like, "Oh, Sonia's back." And they'll be like, "Oh, is she? Right." And they'll be like, "You're in trouble." Like,
I know.
you know, and you'd be forgiven soon enough.
Yeah.
But you'd have to get in trouble for it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And you know, it's, and we discovered this actually happened a lot. This is one thing that happens, that a lot of workers, they break the hearts of the homeless. It happened to me in Melbourne when I got too close to a worker, and he had to pull me aside and he said, "Look, there is a boundary. It's a professional boundary and we aren't allowed to cross it." And I was like, what are you fucking like? Oh, what, you get that close, do you? You learn everything about us, become our friends, care about us. And
but
then
it's also a survival tactic too. I mean, especially when you've had the jobs that I've had in the past, and I don't want to name them because no one knows. But, you know, a survival tactic is I don't get involved in street politics, and I don't get involved in street things. I mean, I've had people ring me up and say, "Hey, Sonia, I'm bailed up at the Modbury Hospital because some guy's in the car park and wants to beat the living shit out of me. Can you come and get me?"
We expect you to get involved.
No, I'm not your getaway car. Get out there and get a backbone and get out and deal with it yourself.
This is the boundary. The homeless people,
so this is the boundary that have to be put in place.
We create our own world. Yeah. And that person that enters our world, who becomes like family to us, we don't have that boundary. You have it, and we're like, bugger your boundary.
Yeah.
Like, we expect something now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's about, you do have to set boundaries, and you do care a lot, but you have to set boundaries, and you have to protect yourself, because as I said, it is an emotional roller coaster, seeing what people go through and hearing people's stories and everything else. So, you know, you have to be a certain type of person, I think a certain type of experience and everything to survive in this industry.
You do.
And it's like it's been on and off.
Unfortunately, what can then happen, and I've actually seen this also out of some workers, they develop that Stockholm syndrome, where all of a sudden they do cross the boundary, and they don't. For them, it's not a problem because they have developed that issue, and they start to identify even more so with the homeless people. And I've seen several situations with it where, you know, like the security guard at Hutt Street Centre, he starts going into bat for the people that as far as he sees it, a part of, he's part of their little crew, they're a part of his, within the centre and even outside the centre. But I've also seen unfortunate situations where a particular female worker lost her job because she developed romantic feelings for one of the clients.
God, yeah. You just can't. I mean, I don't work for anyone. I only work for myself. I don't have to answer to anyone. So I set my own boundaries of what I'm prepared to get involved in. And I don't get involved in street stuff at all. I don't get involved. I feed people. I listen to people. I advocate. I get homes. I provide wherever people need to be comfortable.
Well, unfortunately,
but I don't get involved in street wars. I see and hear a lot, and I don't usually talk to other people about what I see. I keep majority to myself because that's how I survive.
Unfortunately, because you have been named so much in the Adelaide Homeless Journal, you are simply now part of the homeless world.
Well, Norman, love his soul, likes to post my food. He says, send me photos of your food. And I said to him, you need to be careful because your page, people are going to say, this is the Sonia blog. This is the Sonia page. And I said, you need to be careful that you're not posting too much about what I do. And the other thing is, too, it creates friction in the industry. Like, I've noticed that there's a few fake accounts and a few anonymous people coming out saying in hate groups, she thinks because she supplies a few meals that she's an expert on homelessness, but they know nothing about me. They don't know what my past is.
These are the keyboard warriors.
Yeah, they don't know anything about me. They don't know what jobs I've had. They don't know whether I've been working with homeless people for 80 years.
They're the ones I know. I see all this as well. I see all this, and they're the ones I simply say to this. They're not coming out. Like, what are they? I say to them, what are you doing? What are they doing? Simple as that. They're not coming out feeding anyone unless you're out there actively feeding people and helping them and providing them with things that they might need to get them through the day. Then shut up.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's. I think it provides. I was thinking about it on the way here actually because I've copped a fair bit over the last 24 hours, and I thought to myself, gee, I'm really getting my dopamine hits through watching these people because the negative feedback and the negative stuff gives you the dopamine hit and the drama and stuff. So I find myself, laughing and sort of going in there and checking every now and again because I need that dopamine hit. That's very much to all these haters that are filling up my dopamine. I appreciate it.
They've clearly got no lives. Clearly.
Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. So let's finish off now.
Yep, let's finish
for another really interesting conversation
and session.
And we will meet again maybe next Friday night. And we'll think of some more topics. It
has been a pleasure.
And also,
I hope everybody has enjoyed the video.
Yeah, we're happy. Maybe next week we can do a question and answer session with you, Chris, and see if anyone's got any questions about, to ask you about your journey as a homeless person over, the 17 years. So if anyone's got any questions, perhaps I'll do a post during the week and people can put up their questions. And we can have a bit of a question and answer session too.
Not a problem.
All right, well, thank you so much, Chris. I'm going to have to get you to press the stop button whenever you're ready.
I think finish. Is that finish?
Finish, yeah.